Hello, hello. Can people see me? Hello. Oh my goodness, this is my favorite part. And I always say this at every event, but I always picture all of you as football players coming out of your dugouts or actually baseball players, any kind of player, running out of the dugout and listing your cities. Hello from Chicago. I am also based in Chicago. Hello, I see people from Austin, Philadelphia, Oklahoma, Florida. Oh my goodness, NYC, Phoenix. For those who always see me here with all of these events, I know I always say the same thing, but hey, that's the work, right? We will get started very shortly. We have a really awesome event for y'all. We are partnering with a few community partners, and I can't wait for you all to meet them. All right, hi everybody. I am Ceci Fisher Benitez, Program Manager at Latinas in Tech. I am based in Chicago. Go Bears. My pronouns are she, hers, and ella. I encourage you to all use your pronouns if you have different ones to meet with each other. I just really want to quickly thank our community partners, ALPFA, Phoenix, and Techqueria for bringing us and helping us put event and helping us bring this event to y'all. And of course, thank you for making the time to participate and joining us on today's event. I'm excited to learn from all of these amazing women on this panel, but first, let me tell you a little bit about Latinas in Tech. It is our mission to ensure that Latinas are not only well represented in tech, but we are also thriving, innovating, and moving up the corporate ladder. We have over 16,000 women or folks in our entire network. We actually have a new platform where you can create an account, look at jobs, just connect with others and join a movement. So feel free to register. I would normally have a cute slideshow deck, but today tech was not working with me. So I had to just, do this like this. So you'll have to trust me on that and go to latinasintech.org. Now, some housekeeping items. I just want to go over this platform a little bit because, everybody has bugs and sometimes those happen. So really quickly, on the left side, the right side, one of your sides, you'll find a navigation menu to take you from room to room, the reception, the stage, the networking. As you can see, my lights just went off because I am a co-working space and I guess I've been still, so they can't tell someone's here. Anyway, let's move forward. All right, we're almost there. To communicate with each other, let's use the event chat. Obviously, you're all pros already. You're already doing it. You'll also see a networking session slide up later because we are going to have an opportunity to connect with one another. And I believe it will be 5 minutes. You'll be able to speed date and meet people as we go. So with that, with all of those mishaps of today and my lights going off, I will pass the mic to Jasmine Rivera from Phoenix. Oh my God, Alpha Phoenix, seriously, words. She will be your moderator today. Jasmine, please come save me.
Amazing. Can you see and hear me? See the chat. Perfect. All right, awesome. I think you guys can see and hear me. Can someone just put something in the chat? Awesome. Okay. Gracias, Ceci, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, special thank you to Latinas in Techqueria and ALPFA Phoenix for putting this event together. My name is Jasmine Rivera, she, her, and ella, board member of ALPFA Phoenix and diversity pipeline lead at Nationwide Insurance. I will be your moderator today, and I am so excited to get started. This panel was created for Latinas, by Latinas, and we'll discuss the importance of creating inclusive spaces, supporting those who pivot to new careers, and empowering more Latinas to break into tech. We'll be diving into our own questions and then take some from the audience from the stage tab on the right, and then go into one-on-one networking, as Ceci was talking about. Let's get started with meeting our panelists and learning how they ended up working in the tech space. Caroline, let's start with you. Oh, and then all of our panelists should be joining here. There we go. There's Caroline. Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Caroline Jimenez. I currently live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's 215. I work at Vanguard as a chief of staff in the group that is developing Vanguard's global advice technology. So I studied public relations and French at Penn State. So if you told me about 6 years ago that this is what I would be doing, I would probably laugh, roll my eyes, and never think about it again. So really excited to be here with you all and share my journey into tech and how I ended up here.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. And then let's go hear from Paula.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great. So, hello everyone. Thank you to ALPFA, to Techqueria, and obviously Latinas in Tech, which is the organization I am proud to be part of. I'm the Miami co-chapter lead, and I'm a security analyst for Cisco Systems. My name is Paola Serna. I was born in Colombia, and I moved to the US about 22 years ago. So I'm very excited about this, honestly, because I get to share a little bit of my story, how I switched from finance to tech. And I want to share a few tips with you. I wish I knew things before. That's why I'm passionate about doing this, because if you're looking to pivot into this great industry, there are great opportunities for you. And if you feel like you don't have the skills, or that you don't have the degree, or that you don't live in a city like San Francisco or New York, I'm here to tell you, hopefully, that you can make it. So thank you so much to all my panelists here, and let's looking forward for this.
Amazing, Paula. Let's hear from Michelle next.
Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be joining this panel with amazing Latinas, and this is the first time that I do something like this. I'm super excited to have us all on this event. So my name is Michelle Carricosa. I'm originally from Mexico, but did my entire career in tech in Seattle. Currently, I live in Paris, and that's where I'm joining from now. But pretty much the main idea behind, like the things that I do is because I was a program manager at AWS, and I decided that we needed more Latinas, more women of color, more women in general in tech. So I decided to launch my business, which is a Tech Career Lab, where I help women break into the tech field, leveraging their non-conventional background. For me, having a non-conventional background was really kind of like the difficulty preventing me from breaking into tech for a while. So now that's all I can talk about, and hopefully you'll be able to learn some good stuff on here and apply it to your own journey as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Michelle. And then Xochitl, I think, is your microphone working?
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little low.
Okay, yeah. So I'll through the course of this, I'll try to get my camera to work. So I would say for me, I started out in engineering. I didn't really pivot. I would say I have pivoted to various roles. In engineering, I actually got my degree in environmental engineering and material science, and I am now in cybersecurity. So I can kind of give you an overview of how to pivot within engineering areas as well. I think a lot of it, if you look at different types of technical backgrounds, there's a lot of synergy, whether you start off with a chemical engineering or aerospace engineering degree. You can, I would say there's some foundational components that can apply to a few other areas. So through the course of the conversation, I can discuss some of those with you of how I did that.
Awesome. And then something to add, I forgot to mention, my background is in corporate finance. I graduated from Arizona State University with my degree in finance in May of 2020. Such a crazy time to graduate, I know. Feels like forever ago. And now I work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. So we're going to talk a little bit about pivoting careers. And let's start with Xochi. So for our first question, can we talk about what was pivotal for you to break into a career in the tech space, since you come from an environmental science background?
So I would say from an environmental science background, my journey began, I would say, I was offered a lot of different opportunities. I began in environmental engineering and was immediately offered in my first role to pick up physical security, which has nothing to do with environmental engineering. So I said, sure. And then there was an opportunity to pick up quality management systems for manufacturing processes. I said, sure, I can do that too. Then came up exports and compliance. Then came up data center and business continuity and resiliency. So within 2 years out of college, I was leading environmental engineering, export and compliance, physical security, risk management, and also our business resiliency and quality management systems. So for me, it was really don't say no, say yes, and see what you like. Because I think once you're fresh out of college, you're still trying to find your way. So the more doors you open, the more experience you have. And then that helps you kind of identify what you like, what you don't like, and you carve out different types of, I would say, pathways within your career. And as you get older in life and you have children, you get married, you decide to do different things, it's always good to have options on different things you can go do and try. And whether that means you want to be an individual contributor, a manager, or travel, you have a lot of those options at the table for you by really just saying yes and getting on the job training and getting those certificates as they come your way. I would just say, don't say no. Try it. You may not like it, but I wouldn't turn away an opportunity.
Amazing. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally could not agree more with create as much opportunity for yourself as you can and say yes to everything. When I started at Vanguard out of school, which is a company in financial services, I did a rotational program because I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And my first role out of the program was a chief of staff role in our investment stewardship team. So focused on environmental, social, and governance issues. And at the time, I think that I might not have had the confidence in myself, but because I had a mentor who did, that really gave me the confidence to take a risk when I found an opportunity within technology, specifically this chief of staff role, because I said, okay, I guess I can do I have this skill set. I know I can do this part of the job. I see the value and I understand the value that technology is going to continue to play in financial services and how disruptive it's going to continue to be to the industry. And then I had a mentor who really believed in me when I wasn't totally confident in myself. So I think sometimes when you don't have that for yourself, having someone else to really give you the confidence to take a risk can be really critical. So I would encourage everyone to really lean on any mentors you have and advocates as you're looking for roles like this.
Yeah, thank you for that, Caroline. And just a shout out to all of the organizations that are sponsoring this event, Techqueria, Latinas in Tech, and Alpha Phoenix. We all have different mentorship program, and we're all amazing for finding mentors and being a part of the familia. Alpha, we're a little biased. We call the ALPFamilia, but don't be afraid to make a connection today. Reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to people on the panel, and ask, for some advice, ask for a mentorship, ask for a virtual coffee chat. That's what we're here for, and that's what creating these inclusive spaces are for. So I know there's a lot of people on this panel today who are kind of debating, I want to get into the tech space. I don't really have a tech background. What are my next steps? So Paola, I'd love to get your advice on if you recommend any specific boot camps or certifications that can kind of help them pivot into that.
Yes, of course. I agree with Xochitl and Caroline. I think all the things that you mentioned, never say no, always say yes, and say yes to learning, okay? Technology changes, and so you have to change with it. And for me, so what happened to me was I was in finance. I was working there in New York, the dream of my life. And I realized, I want to work for a team. I want to work with people. I want to work in something that changes, not that is, set in stone and that's the way it is. And I bring this up because I feel like what helped me, because I didn't know, again, so if your eyes are like looking just to one direction, you're missing out. And I just want to say that not only you have to keep yourself upgrade with the skills and all that, but you have to develop friendships, and you have to join organizations like this. And for me, it was my best friend who moved from New York to California, and her boyfriend was working for Google. And for me, it was like, wow, you live in California. How is that like, And so I went to visit her, and it just opened my eyes. It just opened my eyes, a whole new industry, a city where people are more, welcoming, more than New York. And that, it doesn't matter if your degree doesn't say computer engineering or computer science or engineering. If they see that you're willing to learn, you're willing to take those boot camps, those long hours, they'll give you an opportunity. So just to answer your question, I will say, obviously, if you're just coming out of high school, I will encourage you to do computer science, engineering, things like that. And don't feel like that's only for men. Women can learn, we can do it. And so, and it's beautiful to see a woman like, being the director of the engineering department, right? But if you are in a different state of your life, like I already finished my career. I was 3 years into the role. And if I told myself, oh no, I don't have the degree, then I would be stuck right there. So don't stop, continue learning, take coding bootcamps, as crazy as it sounds, like, and web development. What is web development? Yes, learn something new. Like how do you do a website? Coding, HTML, CSS, product management, UX design, data science, data analytics, all those things, as even if they sound difficult, they are, but you have to start somewhere. So I will encourage all of you to visit like General Assembly. General Assembly offers great courses that are not that expensive. And now with this pandemic, like you don't have to be in the city to go and be there. You can do it online. I know sometimes now we're tired of going into another virtual class, but hey, you are able to do it. For me, I was in the city, so I had to go and take those classes. But there are other classes like Coursera, Udemy, anything that you can find. YouTube. I know it sounds like we all say, oh, go to YouTube, but you can learn things, and so continue learning, put that in your resume, in your LinkedIn profile. I suggest to put that in your description. And trying to break into privacy or breaking into cybersecurity. Find something that you are passionate or you want to learn more, and then study that. Because obviously, if you don't have the experience, they want to see that you know a little bit about it. So I don't know. Just reach out and get and ask people, like ask me or ask anybody, like, hey, how do you do it? Like just be proactive, because opportunities can happen, but you have to make them happen.
Absolutely. And what Paula's speaking to is adding it onto your LinkedIn and optimizing your page is really crucial to have recruiters kind of help find you, or people make connections and kind of stand out from the crowd. So even just adding it into your skills, getting an endorsement, adding a LinkedIn kind of badge to your page can do wonders. So thank you for that. So on the other side of breaking into tech, let's talk a little bit about networking tips. So Michelle, what networking tips would you recommend to our audience looking to pivot or start their careers in tech?
Yes, absolutely. And, I feel that I could talk about LinkedIn all day long. That's pretty much all I do nowadays. And I think I'll start by saying what kind of prevents people from showing up authentically on LinkedIn, especially as career changers. And because I think that that is the main obstacle that I see, because everyone can create a profile, everyone can, fill it out and stuff like that. But I feel that a lot of people either feel that they don't have enough tech experience. They feel that because they're switching fields, like no one is going to take them seriously, or like they also feel that no one is going to accept to go on those coffee chats with them, or maybe they won't even answer their questions. But I guess the main tip that I have for all the Latinas and Latinos in the chat and in this event is that you are already a professional. So you are just talking to another professional who happens to be in a different field. You already have value, you have X amount of years of experience under your belt. So you have to act like it and really own that space and get into those conversations that way. Not coming from a place of like, hey, I used to, for example, receive a lot of messages saying like, hey, Michelle, I see that you work at Amazon. Can you refer me? That is not networking. Networking is creating conversations, real conversations with people already doing the work that you want to do, ideally at the companies that you already want to be working in, and just kind of hearing a little bit more about, what they have to say from inside that building, right? And so a quick metaphor that I always like to mention is that, like tech, kind of like as a field, you can see it from a really like a big block of cement building, and there's only a few windows you can see through for you to be able to gather information and get through the door. And those two windows are networking, so the conversations that you're having with these people, because now you can see how they speak, like how they operate, how they solve problems. And then the second thing would be also job descriptions, because they're written by people from the inside. So don't hesitate to make use of those resources that you have available, and you show up in there. Just know that tech companies literally need what you have. They're literally hiring people who want to solve problems for them. So just show up like that on networking, and obviously take it up a notch on LinkedIn by just having and starting those conversations. It can take you really far.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is I think LinkedIn is huge. I think these types of sessions are also very important. I think you also need to be very intentional about making those connections and staying in contact, not having it be, I would say, superficial. Right? You can rack up 10,000 contacts and only know 5 people. So I think part of that is, how many, and what I did from a goals perspective, I set, for each year, I'm going to make 500 connections, and then really identify within those connections what I have in common, reach out quarterly. So you have that over a very long period of time. And pretty soon you have a pretty massive network that you can go back to someone you met 10 years ago if you continue that dialogue, even if it's twice a year. So be really intentional about the connections, really intentional about what you want out of that networking, right? Is it to learn professionally? Is it to get support on how to maneuver to another type of a career? Is it personal? Is it education? But I would just be intentional into those groups that you have within your LinkedIn network and continue to work those relationships over time.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, if I may. So the other thing we can talk about is tech is not only software, computer science, engineering. Okay, it's more than that. And so this is also great to talk about this. You could be a marketing professional. Someone mentioned Google certificates. You like to study about SEO or digital marketing, how to do ads. There is a place for you in tech. Okay, you finance. We need finance everywhere in every company. So if you have a finance background but you want to work for a tech company, there's a place for you. So I think the key here is also finding what you like to do, or what you feel like you're good, that you want to develop those skills, you want to learn more, and where you see yourself in 10 years, 5-10 years. And if you start with that, and then, okay, for me, it's also important the company, because as in tech, we are very concerned about image, about our products, about our customers, the impact that we have in the world, our mission. So it is also important to work in a company that you feel passionate about, that you feel like they represent your values. That is not about selling only on money. Obviously, every company needs to sell. But if you find a company that you find that their mission, that they're giving donations to nonprofit organizations, that they are investing in their employees, then apply for that company. Maybe you don't get the role, and it's possible. Believe me, I have applied to many roles and I don't get them the first time, or the first time in my previous job, but you keep trying. So the key here, as Latinos, I see here, we are persistent. We're built with the muscle of, we want to succeed. We want to better ourselves. We want to make our parents proud. of their efforts and their sacrifices. So the only way to do that is to keep trying. So don't get discouraged. I know it's hard. They told you no. Don't take it personal. Just keep trying. And maybe not today, maybe not next month, maybe next year. That's your opportunity. But that's when it's going to happen. You know, everybody has different timing. Opportunities are going to come if you invest in yourself and you keep trying, and like Xochitl said, be intentional.
Absolutely, Paula. Thank you so much for bringing up that point of tech is not just a software engineer. There's so many different roles you can have in tech. Look at our panel. We intentionally chose people who work in different areas. So we have business operations analyst. Caroline's the chief of staff at Vanguard. Michelle's a tech career strategist. And Xochitl is a managing director of global technology. So there's so many different ways and diversity, even on our own panel, right, to get into tech. Don't let it think that there's just one mold, and don't think that you can't fit that mold because there's not a lot of Latinas in tech. We belong there, and that is the purpose of this panel, to show you guys that tech doesn't have one face, and neither do Latinas. We belong here, and that's kind of the purpose. So pivoting a little bit more into the obstacle and adversities people face, right? That's kind of like what we're already touching on. Michelle, what's your client's biggest obstacle to starting their new careers in tech, and how do you recommend they overcome it?
Yes. In a lot of ways, I feel that my clients have the same issues that I had when I was first trying to break into tech from a customer service background, which was my previous background before getting into Amazon. And the main thing is thinking that what Paola actually just touched on, which is the fact that there's a lot of myths around working in tech. And one of them is you have to be a technical person, you have to know people already in the field, or you must have a lot of certifications or extra education. So those are the three main ones that I hear the most. And those are usually the ones that keep people from either applying, from, like even starting to even think about the pivot into tech. However, like we have been trying to do on this panel, like none of these actually are completely true. There's a lot of different sides to this. Like Paula mentioned, there's a lot of different paths into tech. So a lot of the things that I actually focus on as a coach that I had to focus for myself to finally break into tech 2 years into trying a lot of different things was actually getting clear about the path that felt good to me. So like many people, I tried to go to a coding bootcamp. I very quickly realized that type of path was not for me. And I was like, no, I really like talking. I really like the business side of things. So I decided to go on the other side and a little bit more towards like data analysis, which is more of like a middleman type of position. And so that's the position that I went into, right? Like for me, it was also about shortening my timeline. So if I had gone like back to school or to learn coding, I would have needed to extend my timeline, and I wanted to break into tech, yesterday. So I was like, okay, like I need to leverage what I already had. And for me, that was 2 years of retail and 2 years of customer service in a call center. And that's actually what got me into tech. So knowing that actually you have a lot of value from your previous experience, whether that is in government, like even customer service like me, or anything, it's actually bringing value to a very specific sector, to the tech space. So you have to figure out what that looks like for you. And then the second thing is obviously having clarity about your company. So as someone who has experienced burnout in tech, because it can be really intense, my recommendation is that you don't just apply to anything and everything. You have to be really clear about what are your non-negotiables for your next step, especially if you already have 3+ years experience in another role and you're already like, well, I don't like my field, like I'm not growing. A lot of people want to get into tech because of that. And so you don't want to repeat patterns by doing the same things that got you into that place. So you want to do things differently to get different outcomes. So definitely do a lot more research into companies, ask a lot more about your non-negotiables during interviews. So it's a lot of doing things outside of your comfort zone, but that actually like literally pay off. They have a really high ROI at the end. And those are the things that I normally recommend. Yeah.
Amazing. So pivoting more into the personal side, Caroline, can you touch upon what's the biggest obstacle that maybe you faced? And then our other panelists, if you guys want to chime in, but just how you overcame that.
Yeah, I would be happy to. So there have been more times than I can count that I have been not only the only Latina in a meeting or in a setting, but the only woman in the room. And that can be uncomfortable, especially early in your career. You feel really, really intense imposter syndrome. I would say that's one of those things that I just had to accept and lean into the discomfort, and over time got more comfortable that I was the only Latina in the room. It's just the reality of the situation. And I know that I feel passionate about representation and having a seat at the table. And so that was what I was willing to do. I was willing to accept that discomfort. I think, Paula, something you said about making sure the company that you work for is really aligned to your values, right? I think makes a big difference. I work for a company where, yes, I had to overcome that discomfort, but I felt very supported. And it was an environment where over time I felt very accepted and like my voice was respected in that environment. So I think there's this part of just like accepting the discomfort, accepting that you might be the only one sometimes, but that's what's necessary to kind of make this change, right? That we want to see. And then part of that too is now that I have that seat at the table, I've really used it to elevate DE&I topics at my leadership table. I've started diversity book clubs. I've had a lot of offsite topics for the leadership team focused specifically on how are we going to tackle these issues. And I'll be really honest with you all. Maybe if I wasn't there, those things wouldn't be elevated, right? So I had to be a little bit uncomfortable, but I think the more widespread impact that I was able to make was so worth it. And I would just encourage anyone who right now is, maybe anxious or hesitant or even considering passing up an opportunity because they don't want to feel that level of discomfort, to ignore it to the best of your ability and just do it, because I felt that and I've overcome it, and I know you all can too.
Amazing. I want to pause and see if any other panelists, if you guys wanted to add anything to that.
I add something small. It's pretty obvious, right? I agree with Caroline. Being a woman, being Latina, and then having an accent, okay? That makes it harder, right? Like when people are like, what did you say? What? Like in California, honestly, they're not so accustomed as seeing us Latinas, like from Colombia, all of our countries, right? It's very unusual. And I felt different. And I felt like, do I belong here? I mean, what am I doing here? But like what you said, well, I'm here for a reason, right? God sent me here for a reason. And do I have echo?
Yes.
No. Okay.
Now it's good.
So just to end it up, just be confident. You're in this path. And if God puts you there, I'm religious, but if you're not, then just destiny, whatever it is, you're there for a reason. And you have a responsibility too, right? You need to let the people that are not accustomed to see us, that are not, so, okay, Latinos, what are they about? Oh, they're loud, they only like music. Well, guess what? We are so smart, we educated, we work hard. And so you have to, let them know who we are and the good things that we represent, and open the doors for other people that want to come in. So that's just one thing I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to amplify what Caroline said, I think you just get comfortable with being the only person in the room. I think, as part of that, you will find yourself as the only female and the only Hispanic, and you just need to roll with it. I think the more people see individuals that look like you in those positions, the more you can motivate others and pull them up with you, right? So I think that's the big component. And develop a thick skin and just, move forward and ask a lot of questions and don't be intimidated. It's easy for me to say that because I'm probably the oldest one on this group. You just can't see me. But, with that, we all begin very, very, very timid, and, very quickly you just need to get comfortable in your own skin and take risks, and be comfortable with not knowing the answers and be comfortable with failure and learn from those failures and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And something I want to leave as a message for everyone who's kind of listening in here. You're aware of Latinas in Tech, ALPFA and Techqueria. So when you go to these companies and when you are breaking into tech, or maybe you're the only Latina in the room, ask yourself, what are you doing to bring other hermanas with you? Are you going out and supporting them? Are you, offering advice as a mentor? Are you joining organizations? The power that we bring each other when we're connected amplifies. So just something to think about, don't leave any hermanas or Latinas behind, especially in the tech industry. There's so few of us. In any industry, a lot of them, finance, you think of engineering, you think of all of these underrepresented areas. So just want to ensure leaving that with you. So it looks like Michelle and Sochi, they're having some issues, but they're getting rejoined here. But we're gonna start with our last question, and then we're gonna take questions from the chat. If you guys wanna add them into the stage Q&A section, it's on the right tab, or you can add them into the Q&A poll in the main event page as well. Whatever is easiest for you guys, we can read both here. So for our last question, we're gonna kind of go around and say, what advice would you give to your younger self? And in other words, what did you learn with experience that you wish you knew when starting out? And so we can start with Paula.
I mean, if I could go back in time, I honestly be going to school for computer science engineering, something like that. I think my mistake, it's that I wanted to follow my mom's steps. Like I want to do what she did, and never thought, what do I want to do? But with that being said, I think everything happens for a reason. So following her journey, because I wanted to follow her steps, I ended up, like I said, meeting my friend who kind of got me out of where I was and brought me to this other side. And so everything happens for a reason, just like I said, just keep trying. Something will come up and that opportunity will take you to the next one. So just be positive. Like if things don't work out, it's easy for me to say, yes, it's for a reason, but it is for a reason because something bigger is coming your way. And like I said, if something really sounds like, you're trying and it doesn't work, then try something different. Learn something, another skill. Maybe your passion is in something else. Again, don't think too much about, okay, where is the industry at and how much money can I make? And so let me go for this role. Well, again, competitiveness, it's real, right? So, and there's a lot of people that are qualified, and now the world is super connected. So, they're hiring people from everywhere, Europe, Asia. So our chances are lower maybe, but then try to find something that, okay, maybe there's not a lot of people in this field. Maybe I should study something on this field, and maybe the opportunity is that way. So yeah, just keep trying.
Amazing. Let's go to Caroline.
Sure. I'll be really vulnerable with this group. So I was a C math student, middle school, high school, C's. I just didn't get math. Phenomenal grades and everything else, not math. I let that dictate where I thought my life was going professionally. I assumed that because I was a C math student and didn't understand algebra when I was 13, that meant STEM fields were out of the question. And I really wish I could go back and tell myself that there are, like we said earlier, so many other opportunities within technology that don't require you to understand algebra or geometry to be really successful. I think I was so set when I was younger, anchoring to, a really technical role represents what you need to do to be in technology, when the skill set required to be a senior architect is very different than to be a leader of product owners, right? So I really wish when I was younger that I knew that just because you might not be as strong in one subject doesn't mean that that should preclude you from pursuing all related industries and fields. Because if I hadn't come to Vanguard and done a rotational program and then proven to myself, oh, I can do a job that has numbers in it, right? Like, or technology in it. Like, if I hadn't shown myself that, I don't know if I ever would have known, right? So I really wish I could tell myself. And I'm really, really glad that I have the opportunity to tell all of you, don't let something like a grade in a class make you ever think that you can't achieve something professionally that might be related to that subject matter. I really wish I knew that earlier, and I am so glad I figured that out in my 20s.
Absolutely. And let's hear from Sochi next.
I would say for me is it's really interesting. I had a lot of self-doubt early on. And I always felt that I had to know everything before I even apply for any type of position or raise my hand. And what I found through the course of my career is 40% to 50% of a subject is good enough. If you have a foundational component of how to ask the right questions, get direction, get the right mentors, and learn on the job, and then put in some extra hours in the evenings, right? But I wouldn't raise your hand. I would not. I would not. I know it's a double negative. Stop yourself from applying for a role, because I guarantee you, the people that I hire, I will put out a job that I know no one will meet. I'm looking for a unicorn. And if I get someone that's 50%, 60% of the way there, I will interview them. So don't, not submit your application. And it's interesting. My son he's in engineering now. So talk about a path. He has a degree in anthropology and psychology. He's now a test engineer, 2 years out of college. I just told him to go apply. He applied for 300 jobs and interviewed, and he got one. Like, that's all you need to do. You're going to get 200 no's, but it's that one yes that you care about. So I would look at those roles from that perspective. Those people don't exist most of the time. You throw everything in the kitchen sink that you want, and then you try to find the best candidate. And people that I've hired have typically been people that are eager to learn and have a tremendous amount of energy. And I will hire them over someone that has more experience than them if they're eager.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth. So let's finish off with Michelle. What advice would you give your younger self if you could go back in time?
Yes, I think so. It's funny because I was just thinking about this, and I feel that there's so many that a lot of the things that I would tell myself, because I feel that when I was, 23 or around that time, that's when I was trying to break into tech. So I feel the main one for me is not to take rejection as personal, just take it as something that can help me maybe tweak the way that I'm doing something in order to improve. And also going back to what Xochitl was saying, was the fact that you only need one yes. And that is something that I feel that we lose kind of like touch with that reality, because we're applying, we're doing all of these things for our job search, right? And so before we realize it, we feel that rejection is personal, we're feeling down, but we don't realize that we actually are on the right path. We're slowly building momentum, and the next thing that we hear might be a yes. So it's always trying to aim for that yes, seeing the no's as just part of the journey. Yeah.
All right, that concludes all of the questions that we had. So we're going to open up the Q&A section of this event. So the first question we got here, we've got a lot. The first question we got is, how do you make yourself visible to get an interview when you do not have a contact in your network and competing with people with a tech degree? Anyone want to
I can try to take that one.
Okay.
I was like, maybe. So I think the main thing is that if you don't have connections, you create connections. There's a lot of Latinas who probably are already working on that company that you can connect with, people that you can meet at Techqueria. So if you don't have the bridges there yet, you can create them. And it just starts for anything, right? Like if I'm trying to become, I don't know, like an accountant tomorrow, I don't know anyone who's an accountant, I'm going to start meeting up with more people who are accountants, just to hear kind of from their experience. And the second thing, which goes back to what Xochitl was just saying, is the fact that you really, in a way, you are competing with people that maybe have a tech degree, but remember that the employer on the other side, if you put yourself in their shoes, they're only trying to find someone who's going to solve problems for them. And they're going to hire the person who shows in the resume and in the interview that they're the best problem solver out there. So yes, product quality is important, but marketing is everything, and that applies to our job search as well. So I invite you to see that from that lens, and I hope that this helps a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would say the other piece that I would add, just to add to what Michelle mentioned on connecting with individuals, this session or any other session that you attend, I would be intentional about what there's so many things you can attend these days, right? So if you're interested in landing a role with, Amazon or Microsoft or Google or Facebook or whatever, look for events where there's someone from that company presenting, attend, make the connection, ask for a 15-minute discussion, ask for an additional discussion, in 2 months, and build that rapport with them, so that you can get a way in, because it's a lot easier to get your resume submitted internally, so it doesn't go through the monster that is the database to weed everybody out through those other portals. So that's typically what I do. I find a connection and I get the resume submitted internally, so it bypasses a lot of the automated systems.
Yeah, I will add something. I think also one thing people should be aware or think about is everybody applies for the same roles for the most part, right? Like everybody wants to work in the 5 biggest companies: Google, Apple, Facebook, all of them, most of the times. But maybe you should start your career in a startup or in a smaller company, where in startups you learn so much because you do so much. They have less people, so you're gonna learn a lot more when you work for a small company, and that will help you build your resume. If you feel like you put in all, like, again, if you keep doing something, the same thing, and it's not working, then try another approach. And I would just putting ideas out there. Try to find a role of a company that it will give you that experience, that exposure. Again, connect with the people in the company. And then again, I feel like if you want to apply for a role, yes, maybe you don't need to be 100% qualified, but you need to show you have some experience. And the small companies, I know it could be risky, but there is a benefit of working for them because you're going to learn so much. And if you don't have experience or you're switching from another industry, that will open the doors for the bigger companies. Most cases.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would just like to add to that, if you don't see a chair, you don't see a way in, right? Create one. Reach out to organizations, reach out to people, put on events, put on recruiting events, make connections to recruiters. Organizations like these, like ALPFA, that's how I got my internship, that's how I got my job post-school, and then that's how I got, kind of just broke into my new career. So definitely just create those connections. Our next question comes from an interesting perspective. It says, as a brand new #GirlDad, I would love to know what the best advice a parent gave you growing up to help build confidence and feel supported, whether it was in school or joining the workforce.
Oh, I can take this one at first. My mom would always say to me, as long as you try your best, as long as you gave it your best and you tried your best, right? When I was coming home crying with those C's in math, right? She would be so supportive of, like, as long as you're trying your best, right? And putting the effort in and just being loving and caring and supportive no matter what. That was my short and sweet answer to that one.
I love that. Okay. Sochi, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I have I have 2 adult children now. I don't want to call them children, 2 young adults. And I would say it's very similar to what Caroline mentioned. I think allow them to fail, and I would say focus on the learnings from them, and constantly encourage you know, I would say new areas, not just engineering, art, science, drama, you know, just really open up their eyes to the possibilities and focus on a lot of breadth and just really positive reinforcement. I think that goes a long way with building that self-confidence with children. And I think you need to probably say it 7 times so it actually resonates and becomes sticky, because it's really difficult to kind of dwell in the negativity. So it's a 7-to-1 ratio, I would say.
Amazing. So we have a couple of other questions here. Let's see. So one that caught my eye says, if you are someone looking to break into tech in a non-technical role, what type of skills are necessary to have in order to successfully spark a recruiter or hiring manager's eye? So looking at those non-technical skills, what kind of helps people stand out? Okay, and I can take, Michelle, go ahead.
Okay. So I transitioned from a non-technical role background into a bunch of non-technical roles in tech, from data analyst to program manager. And I think like in my experience, landing all of those and breaking into different teams and so on, I think the main thing is really, if you know, kind of like, I feel that in general, it's all about the problem solving skills and showing a little bit more about your impact. So the main reason why I say that is because a lot of people, what they tend to do in their resumes is they recite things that they do. So for example, before breaking into tech, I used to manage a call center, right? But that doesn't tell the recruiter on the other side what is the level of my impact, what tools am I using, how am I actually solving problems. So for you, you want to put everything that you put on your resume, or when you're having conversations or whatever, you want to see it from the lens of a problem solving. So let's say that you're going into, I don't know, product management or something like that. You want to show how you've solved problems in the past that align a little bit more to that path, right? And so for me, instead of going back to reciting, I showed it as a problem solving. And so for me, it was like, okay, I increased, by X amount, like performance in my team by X amount percent, using this specific tool. So that tells them a little bit more what I know what to do. Like, I'm a resourceful person. So it's touching a little bit more on my ability to learn a tool versus me saying like, oh, I know how to code in this specific, language or something. So you have to really showcase it from that lens. So how I've solved problems before, so they can picture you solving problems for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add something because someone asked me on LinkedIn this just yesterday, right? And I asked her to join. Hopefully she's here. But if she's not, then hopefully somebody will benefit. I think you need to leverage that you speak Spanish. And if you do, great. If not, well, it's okay. But we speak Spanish. There is a big segment, LATAM, out there for tech companies. They're all going after that target market. So your language is an asset. Tools, Michelle mentioned them. You're right. Maybe it's not about web development or computer science, Python, but there are tools like Salesforce, CRMs, there are databases, Excel, it's a big tool, SBase. I mean, find things. The question first is, what role do you want to go into, right? So if you want to go into a sales role, for example. So for this girl, she asked me, how do I go in from sales in logistics to sales in tech? I don't see the big difference, to be honest. Yes, you're going to be selling software or hardware. Yes, you're going to learn that. You're going to learn the product or the service. But what they need to see is that if you are able to sell. And how do you show, just like Michelle said, I increased revenue by 15% year over year, reach quota, all those things that shows the recruiter that you know how to sell. You build relationship. That's another very important skill. And for the most part, every role needs building relationship, because as you can imagine, in tech, all the departments are interconnected. So finance works with operations, and operation works with product management or product team, and the sales team. They're all connected. So building relationship, it's a big skill to have. And again, it's just about where you want to go and find those. If you don't have them, find a role that will give you those skills, that experience. So for your next role, because don't think so much on the role for tomorrow. Think about your role in 4 years. Where do you want to see in 4 years? So what will take me to get to that role in 4 years? This role that I'm going to apply today. And so just having that perspective will help you and open your perspective. Yeah.
Amazing. So we only have time for one more question before we get into networking. And I see so many great questions. So I just want to encourage everyone again to join the Latinas in Tech Slack channel, and then Alpha Phoenix. We have our own site. Join our newsletters. There's jobs. Some of them are remote. There's a couple of different Alpha chapters in different cities. Same with Latinas in Tech. Paula's from the Miami chapter. Give them a shout out. Anyone here in Miami? And so, leverage us, reach out. We will definitely get these answered. And just another addition, I see some people are here looking for roles and saying, hey, I want to be in a business support role. I want to support technology, maybe in a non-technical role. You have an Amiga and Me. Nationwide is hiring. Also, our corporate partners with Alpha and Latinas in Tech, like a Vanguard, a Boeing, all of those amazing companies, Google, Amazon, Facebook. I know so many of them sponsor Latinas in Tech. Reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll get your resume to some recruiters that I know, and leverage the networks that we have. So for our last question, I'm just going to go based on what is the most liked in here. But how can we as men be better allies or advocates for you and help you advance in your respective careers? Like Rod, I'm also a proud #girldad. Okay, so I'll leave that open. Okay, Sochi, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I would say so. Being the only woman in most meetings and projects, my mentors and sponsors were all men. So I would say it's really it's adopting somebody, for lack of a better word, and mentoring. And the difference, and I'm sure you've all heard, there's the difference between mentoring and sponsorship. Sponsorship is where you really advocate for someone and really get them into a position that allows them to grow by, I would say, showcasing them. My first manager, and this was at a college, I must have been on the job maybe 6 months, had me present to the board of directors. I'm 24 or 22, I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 22 years old. That was huge. And it was really put together this presentation, go present on my behalf. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And I would say, as you look at those opportunities, really look at projects or initiatives where you can highlight individuals on your team, individuals that are quiet or shy. Do a roundtable. I always do a roundtable, and I ask for everybody's opinion, because there are folks that have a lot to say that may just not have the personality, be introverts, or just be quiet, or they're generally a more quiet person. So that's what I would do as a male. That person that's maybe not speaking a lot, set up a one-on-one and just have a coffee chat. What's their background? What do they want to do? What's their vision? So that's what I would do proactively.
Maybe even just to build on that, because I love that advice. And I think it is so important to understand the distinction between a mentor and a sponsor. I would say, as the current mentee, and I'm not really sure sponsee, that's not really sponsory of people. I think it's really important to be intentional about how you cultivate and manage those two different types of relationships. And what I mean by that is, a mentor is someone you can go to and say, I'm having a really hard time. I don't understand this. I'm struggling. Like, you can be really vulnerable with that person and really candid and transparent. that is different than the relationship you want to have with a sponsor, because you want your sponsor to be your senior advocate who really sees, I would say, the best side of you. Not saying to not be yourself, right, with both relationships, but treating them a little bit differently and being really intentional about how you cultivate and develop those two types of relationships, I think is really important. And I just did not understand the difference. For me, for probably up until about this year, my mentor and sponsor I thought of as one. And I realized pretty quickly that having them be two distinct, really important people to help guide my career was really critical to me.
Okay, I see everyone's dropping their LinkedIns in the chat here. So again, encouraging you all to connect with all of us on the panel here, and everyone kind of dropping in the chat. And then Ceci, I think I'm going to pass it off to you to connect us through getting into the networking stage.
Remember, we can't all be on stage at the same time, so I had to kick you out. Anyway, hi everybody, I'm back. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see on the left side of your computer, the networking portion has now began. So we'll actually can just head over there now, and then we'll be chatting one-on-one with each other and whatnot. But thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Jasmine, for your amazing moderation skills. That was amazing. I also shared my LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with anyone. I like to think that I have a lot of ins with companies because they sponsor us. So feel free to reach out if you need a hand, and I encourage you all to do the same. So thank you. We'll see you at the networking. And thank you, Michelle, Caroline, Paula, and Xochitl for joining us. You all were amazing troopers. I will see you all at the next event, or maybe on the networking. Catch you there. Bye, all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.